for the Courthouse Step quilt block, it's just a little bit different than the log cabin quilt block. So you're going to need kind of 3 sets of fabrics. You're going to need a center. Does not have to be square. It can be a long, a rectangle piece if you want. And it doesn't have to be red. You can choose any color as well. And then you need a light and a medium dark. So just need to make sure that there's enough contrast between your light and the other colors. So when your block gets put together, you can see that they belong to certain sides. With a log cabin, you kind of move around in a circular motion. With the Courthouse Steps, you do top and bottom, and then you move to the sides. And then you do top and bottom and move to the sides. So it's a little bit different process, but you end up with a similar block, but because your top and bottom are the corresponding ones, so my dark would be the top and bottom, and the sides would be this pink. I chose one color for the one side, and then I've got a variety or a scrappy pile for the other. You can do whatever you would like. I'm going to cut some strips really quick for the one side. So make sure I've got some, and I'm going to just do different widths to make it really kind of fun and have a variety in there. And then I'll do, I think, one more strip, maybe 2 1/4. All right. So now we get to take these over to the sewing machine and start the process of building our Courthouse Step block. Okay, I've got my center block, and what I'm going to do is start with the pink, or this first choice of color at the top and the bottom. I'm going to go with the wider width side. If you're making multiple blocks at a time, you could chain piece them and just add them to the one strip to make things go a little bit quicker. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. It's not the right width, but that's or the length, but that's okay. I can change that later. I'm going to finger press or press this with my wood presser, and then I'm going to sew to the opposite side of this. Just to make it fun, I'm going to use the wider strip on the opposite side, so they don't have to be identical either. I'm going to line up my edges, so make sure those are correct and straight. When I'm done, I can trim this. Because there's a pattern, it makes it a little bit easier. All right. So, and I'm going to press it to the dark as well. I don't really press them with the iron during this time until I'm done. It works out just fine, and this is improv, so you're not looking at super perfect accuracy here. So it's just kind of fun, whatever you need to do though. If you need to press it, that's fine. So now I'm going to add my top and my bottom. And I'm going to use the other colors that I have chosen. Line up my sides, make sure that's correct, as well as my seams, kind of push them around, tell them where to go. If I want to trim this now, I can, or I can trim it later. And then open it up and use my finger or wood presser. Okay, and for the opposite side, trying to decide if I want to do, I think I'm going to use this piece. This is great. So now I'm going to line up this edge with this fabric. And then I'm going to trim it. And then I'm going to press it with my wood press. And now I am back to the original color for the top and the bottom. Now I used a thick strip right here, so I'm going to use, I think, a thinner one just for fun. And sew that. Because I'm not pressing, make sure that you kind of give that fabric just a slight tug. It's not to stretch the fabric out, but making sure that that seam is open and you don't get a little pucker. Okay. And now I'm going back to the opposite side. I can either have it matching or I can put a wide strip here. I think I'm going to do super wide. All right, and now I am back again to the front. So I'm back to the darks on the upper and the lower. This one is a little small, so I'm not going to use that again. But I do have some more options, so I'm just going to dig around, find another one. Again, I'm going to line up those edges. If I wanted to, I could put, you know, the same fabric and just choose 2 pieces. But I thought the one being the same and a variety on the other side is kind of fun. So I'm going to do that. Got this other strip that's somewhat similar color. So I'm going to use that. This one has the salvage on it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. Because while it's improv, you still want to use, you know, the good spots of the quilting fabric. Not that salvage if you can avoid it. All right, so I've got my top and the bottom, and I am back to the last sides. Actually, and you can, this is an easy one to square up when you're done, depending on the size that you need for your pattern. Because the strips are different widths, so when you square it up and one width, or the strip might get a little trimmed down, it's not going to be noticeable at all. Now I've got one more to do over here. I think I'll use the wider strip. I'm going to line up my edges again. Depending on the thickness of my strips or the width, that will determine, you know, how far you go. This one is a little more rectangular, so I might want to put an additional dark on the top and the bottom, depending on the size of block that I need. But this just is the process of making Courthouse Steps quilt block.